Not everybody in life gets to experience these things that we got to, and gets to be in those moments that we got to be in, and gets to have these celebrations that we got to have, and have these memories. And we are the lucky ones.
A national title for Metro State.
The men's basketball team put Metro State College on the athletics map in the early 2000s, but it was the women's soccer program that put a stamp on it with their incredible play under head coach Danny Sanchez. After reaching the Elite Eight in 2003, the 2004 squad would take 2 steps forward to reach the program's first ever national championship game.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because 2002, I think we kind of came out of nowhere. We probably overachieved to get to the Final Four, and we lost in overtime to Carson Newman, who ended up winning it. Then 2003, we were loaded. Naomi Clark came in as a transfer, and we were undefeated going into the quarterfinal against UC San Diego, and we lost 3-2 in a great game. And I think we would have won it that year. So 2004, I was like, you know what? I think we can be special, and we were. And we had actually lost Kira Sharp in preseason. She was actually supposed to be on that team as well.
We had a lot of experience when I came into that team. We had a lot of out-of-country players. We had a lot of seniors. So I feel we truly had the game and the experience and the talent with that team.
I think when we played the Nebraska-Omaha game, we beat them very handedly, 5-0. I think we all kind of were like, man, we're in it. This is going to be a great season. And we had this kind of confident swag about us from the get-go that we were like, man, we got some talent.
The title match took place in Wichita Falls, Texas, and they were set to do battle with Adelphi University, who had won 20 games coming into this one. While this team hadn't dropped a game in more than 3 months, there were still some nerves heading into the biggest game of their lives.
I think it's good to be nervous. I think if you're not nervous, then you're not really, excited and ready and prepared. I remember literally from the hotel getting on the bus, all the parents had literally decorated our bus to get there. And then once we got there, all the parents were waiting for us as soon as we got off the bus too. So all the family support was, I think, a good head game to get into the game.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2004 NCAA Division II Women's Soccer Championship, featuring the Adelphi Panthers and the Metro State Roadrunners.
Both sides battled for offensive chances. None could find the mark. The first half was winding down. Then Metro State struck. The corner from Kylie Hanavan found the head of Marina McDonald. The Scotland native had a phenomenal NCAA tournament and once again stepped up on the biggest stage.
There's usually a player that is a big impactful that maybe isn't your star player, but a player that kind of lifts you through the playoffs. And Marina, was kind of that one that really shined through the playoffs and had some big goals for us all the way up to the Final Four and obviously the Final Four game.
The Roadrunners were feeling good coming out of halftime. They were holding tight to that 1-0 advantage. Adelphi picked up their pace and finally broke through. Josephine Coiro, who led her team in points, looked to cross in a pass, but instead it finds its way into the net, catching Metro keeper Mandy Allen off guard. The 1-1 tie wouldn't last very long. 3 minutes later, Yamara Guante, Division II's Player of the Year, gets tripped up in the box, leading to a penalty kick. So who takes the PK? It wasn't Hanavan and her 27 goals. It wasn't Guante and her 13 goals. Or even Amy Leckleiter and her 15 goals. It was a defender by the name of Adrienne Almaraz, but her teammates had another name for her.
My nickname that season was the PK specialist. So I take all the PKs. I wasn't a goal scorer. I played, defensive holding center mid, more of a defensive player, but I always took PKs. and I never missed. And that was my go-to. And in that moment, I had scored the PK to get us through to the Final Four. We had played Seattle U in the Elite Eight, and we scored. Marina had got a PK for us, and we scored, and that got us into the Final Four just on a PK goal.
So with a moment of her life just ahead of her, where would the PK specialist go for the biggest PK of her life?
I always went the same. I obviously being left-footed, I practiced it the same every time. I always looked to the right. And I always kicked it to the left. A lot of times the goalkeepers froze because they weren't expecting a left-footed player to open up your hips and kick it to the left. And although I would look to the right as if I was kicking it to the right. But it was just the way I always took PKs, and it always worked.
If the goal wasn't perfect enough, the celebration after may have been.
Started playing soccer at 5 years old. I never wanted to play. I wanted to go, and I used to do the Pee Wee Herman dance. And while the teams were playing, I would just be in the corner doing the Pee Wee Herman dance. And it's when you shake your legs back and forth and you wave your arms. I said, if I take a PK tomorrow, I'm going to do that dance. I said, I started my career this way at 5 years old. I'm going to end it this way.
The time for dancing would soon come to a halt after Coiro once again came through for her Panthers. She tied the game at 2 with only 6 minutes to go, but how they did it may have been a bit controversial.
They had a free kick, and usually in the game of soccer, you take your time, you set up your wall. So our goalie was yelling at us to set up our wall. Well, in the meantime, they just shot the ball and put it into the net so all of us were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So that was definitely like, okay, well, we're tied. Now what?
As the game came down to the final minute, overtime loomed for Metro State and Adelphi. Both had seen their fair share of free soccer during the 2004 season. However, a certain sophomore who had made her mark so many times in her first season in downtown Denver had one more moment she wanted to rise up to.
I just remember at the very end of the game just scrambling in the box for the ball, and then just kicking it as hard as I could, and it went in, luckily.
And for all of Kylie's great moments and great goals she scored, we can probably count on one hand the amount of ones she scored with her left foot. And this was the one with 39 seconds to go, and I remember like it was yesterday. The ball goes in, and I remember looking at the clock going, man, I'm not a very good coach if we can't kill off 39 seconds for this championship.
Roadrunners win 3-2, earning the program's first ever national championship and the university's third national title overall.
I seriously remember everyone just in a pile just jumping up and down. I just remember saying, like, we all did it. Like, it was just, I don't even know. Just, nothing in my mind would have ever thought we would have been there, let alone win it. So just ecstatic. Just a lot of team celebration, hugging, jumping up and down, running over to the parents, thanking the parents. It's
interesting. The game ends and everybody's crying, right? If you won, you're crying. You lose, you're crying. I remember my wife running on the field and everybody. And I remember we talk about all the time, me and Dave, it's all going on, and we were sitting on the bench, just kind of taking it in. And also realizing that, at a certain level, it should be the capping moment of your coaching career. But I can think of dozens of other situations where of the moments of the journey that are as exciting, or maybe even more exciting. Beating our first year at UC Davis to go to the Final Four in a snowstorm out in Auraria, my former beautiful grass field there in Auraria. So it was a great moment, but it's really, we were sitting back and taking in for the players and for the university and Joe McDermott and everybody that just put so much into our program. It was special, obviously.
And it's unique because it's all your hard work, it's all your sacrifices, all your commitments that you have all done together, being rewarded in a moment. And it's special, it always makes me happy to kind of reminisce about the glory days.
Next time on Roadrunners Legends, we take a look back on the Metro State career of men's soccer great Stephen Emery.
Being in that world of, doing what you love for a living was so weird because, I had friends leaving college and going to work for corporations, and I'm going to practice and playing, and then I'm, done for the day. And I was playing soccer for a living. It's such this weird world to be in, even though that's all I had been writing down, on everything. I want to be a professional soccer player. And so I think the realization that it happened was pretty profound.